More dryness in the eastern side of the Corn Belt and a major soybean rally. Jerry Gidel is ready to assess right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. So, Jerry, we kind of talked about last week about this dryness in the eastern side of the Mississippi River. And the most affected areas are Indiana and Ohio.
Right, right. Well, I think that definitely helped us earlier in the week here, kind of establishing things here on a positive response because of the limited moisture we did have, and not so much the current day last situation, but what happened last weekend and early in the week really kind of established the beans at that point. From there, and I think it kind of well, I think the whole scenario right now is that the markets got really, really oversold and had some heavy short positions on there. And by mid-August, and now all of a sudden it hasn't been going down. And here we are 5, 6 weeks later, and uh, now there's more concerns that maybe the yields won't be as good in the second half of the harvest, things like that. So that definitely has been a factor in here. I think also the we had a pretty good possible jump in China's soybean imports with the U.S. Participating a little bit, but there's a lot of that was still left over from South America. But in general, there hasn't been, in general, the amount of soybeans that's available in South America, both from Brazil and in Argentina, seems pretty quiet down there. They're just not offering much out there, keeping their prices up, things like that, because of partly the weather down there in Argentina is not the best. We had some rains in southern parts of Brazil and that through midweek, but the most important areas of Mato Grosso, Goiás, and Minas Gerais in the north didn't get any rain. And earlier in the week, by the way, there was lots of things on the wires here about how dry things were in the Amazon, and there's the two major tributaries that make up the Amazon there at Manaus. The one that kind of comes in from the southwest, and that basically there's no particular transportation going on there about any kind of corn or soybeans moving that way through the Amazon. So I think people are starting to realize that things in South America are not in the best of shape. And so I think that definitely helps establish some positive prices earlier in the week from there.
Yes, do you think that this soybean rally is sustainable over the next couple of weeks?
Well, I'm not sure it's going to be I think there is a little bit more push potential in there. We first have to get through Monday stocks, uh, September 1st ending stocks for corn and soybeans, and what the wheat numbers are going to be. That's really not production wise, but the most important things on corn and soybean production won't be until the 11th of October. But I think there's a possibility this market is going to be reluctant to be a really sell off, and it could pop things up. I still think there's maybe a swing up closer to just under $11 on November beans, and maybe in the 340-ish area in December corn. But those are things that we'll have to see when they get there as to how it goes. But interestingly enough, there's lots of cycles in interesting scenarios here with people kind of oversold on some stuff accordingly here on things as it stands right now from there. So I don't know, kind of interesting. Along with Russia itself here, they help things kind of still discussing the corn and the activity that's going on in that market. Here, there was the announcement today the Russians were going to go ahead and increase their export. Uh, I guess you call it tariff or whatever, tenfold, and knew it up to 297 rubles, which is sounds impressive. I don't know exactly what the current value of the ruble is, but even then, it definitely is a indication that things in the eastern side of the Black Sea, where a lot of their corn and wheat is located at, is still not in the best of shape on weather, and they're kind of slowing things down. And actually, there was, I think, late last week, early this week, there was reports about some of the crops out in the Ural area and Siberia that was still in the field. So definitely, things are in the weather world for Russia are not looking the best. So I think they're getting a little nervous on some of that stuff along the way. Of course, the other, you know, is the fact that we've got USDA reports coming next week and also on October 11th. From there, the one's next Monday, this coming Monday, I should say, is traditionally they don't really have a lot of impact. There's really not a lot of adjustments in corn and soybeans and wheat stocks, but I think there could be some slight increases. We kind of mentioned this last week that the U.S. crush was disappointing in August, so there's probably a 10 to 15 million increase on that. Back up from the in the 550 excuse me, 350, 55 area. On the corn, similar situation. It's always a little touchy this time of year on what kind of exports happen or don't happen on the exports and that. On corn, and that with prices being so defensive in August and people possibly delayed some of their shipments, but not big. But there's also the scenario that last year's crop could be overestimated, so that's always going to be something involved on that one. And of course, then we have our final production numbers on winter wheat, spring wheat, things of that nature. There's a crowd out there that's 25, 30 million higher. There's a crowd like myself in the 15 to 20 million lower crowd. I'm still looking at some of the poor uh, and hot weather poor conditions and hot weather we had in Colorado, Montana, even the Pacific Northwest a little bit on some of their late harvesting. And that, so I think that that could be down, but it's not a big deal one way or the other. If it's 15 or 20 lower or 20 higher, it's the crop sizes and wheat are really going to be determined what's going on as we uh, get our fall results here in corn and soybeans harvest, which will be picking up strongly here. There's expectations that the coming weeks harvest pace will be in the 20 to 23, 24% ratio up from the 12 to 14, 15% we had last week.
Yes, and next week we also might have a strike in U.S. ports that might disrupt the U.S. export.
Yes, that well, it's interesting in this is not the New Orleans style strike. It's on our Boca type of exports and that got settled, I think, late last summer type situation. This really involves all kinds of other things that are dealing with our container ships, with our some food imports and that. But it's definitely psychologically something that's could have an impact on things. Maybe even in some of the specialty products and things like that, vegetable oils like that, to deal in that more specialized scenario. Definitely, it's going to be a big impact on containers and also on autos at this point and auto parts. So if you're buying a imported car, you might be have less supplies to choose from if that continues. Now, there's a strong possibility that they will go ahead and have one of these 45-day cooling off periods and get back uh, to the bargaining table, things like that. So that's definitely out there and something that we needs to be watched. But until we actually get past October 1st, we'll see if that actually comes about. There's always this last minute brinkmanship that happens with they decide to throw in that 45-day cooling off period.
Yeah, so next week we'll have a lot to talk about. I'll see you next time, Jerry.
I understand, and I think we got to keep a little bit of an optimism that if we can get up closer to that 11, as I said before, 1080 to $9 or 1090 type level, or up in the 320, excuse me, 330, excuse me, 430 level on these corn, then there might be something to keep in mind. But right now, at least, let's see what we can happens with our data and the weather for next week, because I think both of them are important, both in South America and here in the U.S.
Indeed. Thank you.